Recording. Okay, hey. So welcome to another of my world famous unmasked, unedited, unwatchable videos. I'm Orion Kelly, that autistic guy. I'm all about providing validation and acceptance for autistic people and their loved ones. Now, the difference between this and other videos, that will be edited out, that's for starters, is that other videos I like to try and engage, entertain, and inform, educate people, on things about the autistic life to help autistic people live better lives and to help those who love or care for autistic people. These videos, though, are more, it's kind of like you might call it like a Dear Diary, or it's more like an insight into me just being me. So there's no part of this that I edit. I don't cut things out. I don't clean things up. There may well be long pauses, and my inability to not rant won't be taken away. So that's what the premise of this is. Me, just one autistic guy, trying to fully be myself without worrying about how I should look so people will watch me on YouTube. So far, I kind of get the impression that a lot of autistic people like these videos because they feel seen. They feel heard, they feel validated. And that's the only reason why I keep doing them, is because that's the whole point of what I'm here for. So if this helps, then I'm all for that. But yeah, this is not an all video of mine. So it's, at the time of recording this, I don't know when you're watching it, but at the time of recording this, it's the start of April 2024. Now, for autistic people, you probably well know that April is, in effect, Autism Month to some degree. So there's, I believe it's something along the lines of World Autism Awareness Day, which is on the 2nd of April. So I think that's what it's called. And that is a UN, so a United Nations sanctioned event. So the United Nations sanction, many awareness campaigns throughout the year, presumably to, shine a light on humanity, different parts of humanity. And then I'm not too sure if it's unofficial or official, or if it's more put on by the autistic people, or I'm not too sure. I don't exactly know. You can put in the comments if you know. But then we more broadly celebrate through the whole month of April, whether you want to call it Autism Awareness Month, or, in my opinion, Autism Acceptance, Autism Appreciation Month. So that's the premise of April. And stress can manifest in many different ways. For me, my skin on my face just gets all weird and red and angry. You probably can't see it. That'd be good if that's the case. If you can, though, like I've got redness on either sides of my nose. I've got cream on it because it's red and it's a bit, like sore or dry. So it's probably very shiny on camera. But again, this is just how I am during the day, normal, everyday autistic Orion. This is stress manifesting. I know if my face gets out of control, gets all red and dry, I know that's one manifestation of life being stressful. So let's break this down. As autistic people, why would a month or a day dedicated to shining a light on us create stress or be a bad thing? I can't answer that question for you. That's not possible. I could only answer it for me. So let's think about this. For starters, Orion, what do you think about Autism Awareness Day or Autism Acceptance Month? What do you think about all this? Not much. Not much. Do I like it? I don't think so. Is it important? Maybe. But here's why. So a good example is, so again, when I recorded this morning, I did a radio interview here in Australia. Okay, a radio interview, like a breakfast radio show about autism. Okay, so I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to be interviewed. That's amazing. Okay, great. But in effect, it was, for an autistic person, a pretty stressful experience. Why? Well, the entire conversation went for under 5 minutes. Now, under 5 minutes in a way of conveying useful thoughts and opinions for an autistic person is, in my opinion, far from inclusive or accessible. Processing questions, trying to get the answer out. That's also, it says, okay, so maybe you do need some awareness today. You got 5 minutes, good luck, right? And that's stressful. And it's stressful because you're trying to do the best you can, but also it's stressful because you don't finish that conversation feeling anything but bad stuff. Like, did I say the wrong thing? Did I not successfully convey things? Did I fail? Did I give it the wrong impression? Did I offend people? There's no good feelings at the end of that. Now, I love doing them to try and help people, try and reach people. But the only thing in my mind at the end is all bad stuff. And I guess it's because it's one thing to say we'll include autistic people, but it's another thing to actually be inclusive. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, this can come in many ways. It could be, potentially you could send them the questions you want to ask them the day before, or you could provide them with more time and less stress, more, not so time sensitive, or I guess you could just skip us all together if you're not so happy about helping. So, from the very start of the month, whether you are an autistic content creator or you're just a regular everyday autistic person doing the best to survive through life, I bet to some degree the world, whether it's family, friends, whatever, the world suddenly turns to you for something. They want something from you. Well, it's Autism Awareness Day or it's Autism Awareness Month, so you should do this or you should do that or we need this from you, right? So in effect, we're basically asked from the world to work for free, provide services and opinions for free, and to be able to fit into the neurotypical mold of how those things are presented, which is not possible. It's not possible. And then it's like people go, oh, you're so whingy, like the world is giving you a microphone or a window for a day or a month, and why are you whinging about it? That's because I'm not taking a microphone for a day or a month. I'm doing this every day of my life. Every day, every week, every month, every year. So it's okay if you want someone to talk about it for one day or a month, but I'm talking about it every day here. It doesn't stop for me. It's not a fad. It's not a ticker box for this day of the month, and you move on to the next day of the month. It's completely disconnected. So that's another reason. It's patronizing. I feel it's patronizing that people are somehow out of nowhere interested. Well, they're not, but they're interested in learning more about autism because it's the day to learn more about autism, or it's the month to learn more about autism, right? That's patronizing, but also it's a pressure. It's like a demand. So that means today you must perform. Dance, monkey, dance. Yeah, and again, I'm grateful for opportunities to speak to media, but I never have a feeling at the end of satisfaction, right? Or of contentment or happiness. And that can't just be about me. It has to be about the inclusive, accessible ways it's done. And that's the other thing about the month. So it's patronizing. It's really, in a way, it's an exploitation of autistic people for no payment, no money. Just, well, it's Autism Day, you should talk about it. Are you going to work today for free? Oh, you're not? Okay. So are you being paid to go to the radio station and interview me? You are? Okay, cool. So what am I doing? Yeah, all right. So put that aside. Here's the next thing. Okay, cool. So it's Autism Awareness Month, whatever you want to call it. What does that mean? Well, autism organizations can start selling stuff. Now, there's two arguments here. Okay, the first argument is autism organizations sell stuff to make money to, in theory at least, help autistic people. And that, in theory at least, makes a lot of sense. Okay, makes a lot of sense. Cool. Okay, but let's look at the other argument. Okay, so number one, a large portion of autism organizations, not just in Australia, but right across the planet, the big ones, your large kind of peak body type setup, the ones that get a lot of money from governments and corporations, are, in general terms, established and run by non-autistic people. neurotypical people, whatever you want to call it. Okay. They may have a connection, and that's cool. They may be a loved one. That's cool. But the premise here is that the organizations that are using these moments to make more money, to sell products and make more money or get more exposure, to create more money or more income or more attention or more funds to help autistic people, is still all happening through the lens of non-autistic people, right? So, well, what are you spending your money on? How are you using it? Because I wholeheartedly agree that these organizations can do good, right? And are required. I do not, though, wholeheartedly agree that all these organizations are, in fact, doing good. What do you mean, Orion? Well, let's talk about it from a point of view of the way I said it was run and established. You've got an autism organization set up by non-autistic people with non-autistic board members and non-autistic management, let's say for the most part, okay? Then, wow, Orion, actually, you're wrong. We do have a token autistic person on the board. Okay, but shouldn't there be a majority of autistic people on the board? You know, like 4-3 or something? Oh, we've got a token autistic person in middle management. Wow. Our CEO has an autistic child. Wow. Right? Okay, so you're getting your funding from the government or organizations or corporations, right? You're selling your products during April. You're making your money. And you're using the large portion of that. And you can, if you'd like, you can get all your financial statements and send them through and we'll have a look at them. But the bottom line is you're using a large portion of that money, in my opinion, to pay for your staff. A lot of which are not autistic people. Now, we well know that autistic people are not just underemployed, they're unemployed. I mean chronically and profoundly. So significantly over a long period of time, okay? But we're not hiring them. We're not using that money to hire them. We're using that money to pay all these non-autistic staff members, right? Whether they're just your standard employees or middle management or CEOs or boards, or even worse, outsourcing large portions of money to other organizations to create things for the organization. So the idea here, think about it like this. You sell autistic stuff to autistic people, right? Because, I mean, let's be honest, the most people that are going to buy the autistic propaganda or the autistic merchandise are usually autistic people or friends of or family of. Using that to make money, to pay for more non-autistic staff members, right? Non-autistic run organizations, to then decide how that money can be used to help autistic people. Have I missed a meeting? Have I walked into the wrong universe? Where am I? Okay. So, it's like, seriously, guys. And I see some of, like, you get social media campaigns from some of these organizations, right? And you got all these, honestly, you just go on LinkedIn, right? And you see all the people that work for these organizations patting themselves on the back. How good is this? Or another award-winning campaign. An award-winning campaign as judged by who? It clearly wasn't a group of autistic people. As judged by who? The same people that give you your funding every year? What do you mean award-winning campaign? If your campaign is award-winning, show me how it's changed the lives of autistic people. Oh, but Orion, you can't let perfection get in the way of good. What are you talking about? Who said perfection? People have this issue with any level of accountability or improvement. And then the way of shutting that down is go, well, that's perfectionism. No, it's not. It's accountability. It's accountability. It's you're patting on the back, oh, what a great campaign. They're bullshit campaigns. The majority of the social media campaigns by these organizations are bullshit. Absolute crap. Nothing about them that's interesting. They're not engaging. They're boring. They're just like talking heads with words and things. And who's watching that? Who's interested in seeing that? What do you talk? What is this? How has it helped? It's won an award, has it? Okay, great. Let's talk about how you judge awards. Okay, so if you're an organization helping autistic people, how are you helping autistic people? How have they been helped? Not in your corporate, spinny, broad, I mean specifically. Because here's the interesting fact, guys. This is the part that you need to hear. This is the truth. In 2024, the UN, the United Nations, you don't get more peak body than that, champ, have said the theme for World Autism Awareness Day, and then more broadly, Autism Acceptance Month, or whatever you want to call it, is from surviving to thriving. Listen to that again. The theme that we need to focus on in 2024 is how we can get autistic people across the planet to go from surviving to thriving. The UN have said, we've looked around, we've had a bit of a look-see, lifted up some rocks, and damn, those autistic people, they're legit barely surviving. They need help. The UN have said, we need to talk about how to get autistic people from surviving to thriving. Forget about thriving, by the way, for a second. Autistic people in this modern day world, with all these autism organizations making all this money and being award-winning and helping autistic people, right? Okay, so if that's the case, let's look at the facts. The UN says autistic people are only surviving. Okay, so then what have you done, autism organisations? You've taken the money from the government, you've taken the money from us and the community, right? You've tried to fundraise and all this kind of stuff to help autistic people. Okay, the UN says we're only surviving. So what have you actually done? I know you've paid for all your high-priced execs and staff members, and you've made your organisation grow to so many employees. Fantastic, guys, great. But why are we only surviving then? Oh, but Orion, that's just the UN. Okay. Because, in the end, my experience is more with Australian-based organisations, so I'm going to be specific. Let's talk about Australia then. Okay, Australian-based organisations that are award-winning and just making so much money and helping autistic people. Why is it that the Senate report in 2022, after looking into autistic people in modern-day Australia, said that the life of an autistic Australian is unacceptably poor, unacceptably bad. Horrifically disproportionate life expectancies, between 20 and 30 years difference, right? Almost no ability to have a job, therefore no money. No social acceptance, no inclusive or accessible acceptance in the community. An inability to get any kind of education. An inability to even meet with medical professionals that have the slightest bloody idea what they're talking about to diagnose someone correctly, rather than misdiagnose. In addition to almost no access to mental health services. And then they said, wow, this is really crap. Maybe we shouldn't have done this report, but we've done it now. We put it in writing. People are going to read it, presumably. We better do something about it. So 2 years later, 2024, the government are now looking at crafting a thing they want to call something along the lines of, the autism strategy or something. Like it doesn't even matter what it is. A national autism strategy. In effect, the government is saying, the Senate have done a report, autistic Australians are living a life that no other Australian would accept. In fact, the country would be burnt down, would be burned to the ground if any other type of Australian had to experience the life that we can see autistic Australians are experiencing, right? You would legit riot in the street, right? But no, that's okay. It's just autistic people. Just chill, right? Like, you see what I'm getting at here, right? So that's the case. Oh, okay, well, we better do something. We'll do a strategy. So don't tell me, organisations, that what you've done has been beneficial to the autistic community, because you're full of shit. The UN is my source number one. The Senate report in 2022, source number 2. The National Autism Strategy 2024, source number 3. Simply put, autism organisations need to lift their game. They need to cut out the fat. get back to doing what they're supposed to do, which is to help autistic people. Hire autistic people to help autistic people. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. So I really want to dig down on this, guys. Here we are, April 2024, and we've been told by the UN something we already know. As autistic people, we barely survive. Okay. Non-autistic people might go, well, Orion, I can tell you 2024 is pretty bleak for most people. Most people can barely survive because the cost of living, everything's expensive. I mean, everything is more expensive than it's ever been before. We're all trying to keep our head above water. We're all trying to survive, right? Okay. Great thought, great argument. Let me go ahead and smash it back in your face. Number one, you're struggling to survive, but there's a pretty good chance you have a job or a partner or an education, or you don't have a medically diagnosed disability or mental health condition. So yes, the cost of living is horrific. Your life is harder than it's been. I agree. I acknowledge it. But don't think that's the same level of struggle. We're talking about autistic people who, as a rule, don't really have partners to help them, to support them through, don't have families, don't have a job, don't have a house or good, safe accommodation, don't have access to the right medical health services or diagnosis or medications or supports, and simply can't even get seen by mental health professionals. This is an entirely different level of struggle. Now, if indeed, non-autistic or what you would class as your standard everyday Aussie or human who's struggling through a cost of living crisis, which is real, if it was at the same level, the UN would go ahead and acknowledge it. We know life is hard. I do not take that away from you. I know everything's expensive. Everything is hard. It's hard to keep jobs. It's hard to get good jobs. Pay is crap. I get it. But we have to refocus ourselves back down here to thinking about this isn't this bizarro world that's operating in another universe. Autistic people are humans living on planet Earth. And it's actually factual that our lives are bloody shit. We can't even get past the gear of survive. Our life, from waking up to going to sleep each day, is pure survival mode. We are, in effect, living the life of a caveman. Of course, our brain is more like a Neanderthal. Nevertheless, that's a whole different conversation. So this is what really agitates me, and I find this upsetting. And it's not. And by the way, I don't care how many people are offended. It's not about me offending you or pleasing you. It's about me just being me and talking. It's not my problem if I say something that you find offensive. That's your problem. I'm not trying to be offensive, but if something offends you, that's up to you. I can't help you with that. Just like this person laughs, that person doesn't laugh, I can't help either person with why they did and didn't laugh. It just is what it is. So, no wonder, autistic people hate April. Think about everything I've just talked about. But the crux here is, we as autistic people are stuck in first gear. So what's between surviving and thriving, by the way? Do you think the UN have potentially jumped the gun? Do you think the UN have, in good faith, have almost made a fanciful analogy? So, when have you ever heard of anyone in life going from surviving to thriving? For example, when have you heard anyone in life, say, like me, go from not having a YouTube channel to having a YouTube channel with 1 million views and 1 million subscribers? That's not, we can't go from no YouTube channel to Mr. Beast, right? Because, okay, so there's start a YouTube channel, there's make content, find an audience, grow an audience, right? Then potentially thrive. There's all this in between. But we're not talking about the in-between. The UN aren't talking about the in-between. So the in-between is the problem. It's not about not getting to thrive. It's the world refuses to acknowledge the in-between. To get from surviving to thriving isn't actually about just saying, all right, autistic people, you tell us how to get there. It's a strategy. It's a consultation period. By the way, remember my old videos? I think I did one of these, like number 5 or something. Remember that? I was employed to oversee some online consultation periods for this strategy. I was literally fired over Zoom prior to one of the sessions because I said to them, I think we should be honest, right? And you can relive it. But I think we should tell these autistic people, and they're not all going to be able to be heard and say what they want to say. And it's going to be time consuming. It's going to be, time sensitive. And that's going to be tricky for you to manage what you want to say and get it out. In other words, prepare autistic people. And they said, they in effect took offense to that. Like, well, that's not true. We can't tell people that's the case. But of course, what they're saying is we can't tell them the truth. We need you to be on the same page of fantasy, which isn't the case, right? So I was actually part of the process. I wanted to be, and I was fired from it. Okay, so now here we are going, well, we've listened to these people. They haven't. Here's the strategy. Read the strategy and tell us what you think of the strategy. Well, why would I tell you what I think of the strategy if in the period of consulting to make a strategy, you wouldn't even listen to me and in fact fired me on Zoom? It's like, that doesn't make any sense. But the point I'm trying to make here, is there ever a point? The point I'm trying to make here is to get from surviving to thriving isn't about us going, here's how you do it. It's about you, the community. Do you think an autistic person can get to thriving without you actually taking one little ounce of responsibility for how you treat autistic people at school, at work, in the broader community? Really? The accessibility, the inclusivity, the ability to understand we are actually different. To actually allow that to be something you believe. Because even in the radio interviews I do recently, they all ask the same questions. For starters, they always ask about living with autism. I live with my wife and kids. I don't live with autism. I am autism. Without the brain, I'm dead. The same questions. What do you think about the strategy? The point is, they're saying broad statements, economic inclusion and social inclusion. No. We need employers to understand autistic people are different, medically diagnosed different, but you can employ them and their difference can actually be beneficial for them and for you. It creates neurodiversity in your team. But of course, that would incorporate actually accepting differences, and that would incorporate employees beneath you, the employer, I'm saying, also accepting their workmates can be different. Oh, no. You can't make work. This is the thing, right? Have you ever seen vision of a parliament in any country, right? Of politicians in parliament, in session, talking to each other. In some countries, it's legit street brawls. In countries like Canada, America, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, it isn't street brawls, but it's basic, 100%, not borderline, actual verbal abuse, right? I frankly quite like it. It's quite funny. They verbally abuse each party, each politician, right? These are the same people that write legislation that says you can't act like this in the workplace. If you act like how we act in Parliament, you should get fired. Because that's different. If you act like this in the community, you should be fined. If you treat someone like this at sport or at school, kicked out. Now, if you excuse me, I'm off to the house for another session to go and verbally abuse the opposition party. What are you talking about? See, there's no responsibility. Don't tell us how to act in the workplace and then go ahead and start verbally abusing or legit street punching someone in Parliament. What is wrong with you? You utter ignorant morons. You're teaching us how we have to act in the workplace and then talking to colleagues of Parliament. And by the way, you work for us, mate, elected representatives. I don't remember signing up saying you can go into Parliament and just verbally abuse, put down, belittle other members of Parliament like they're a joke or you're better. What a load of rubbish. And if that's the case, then we can too. Don't tell us we can't. And what's the point, Orion? The point is differences. Differences. Autistic people are different. We're never getting to thriving if it's all about us. We already know we're different. We've already spent from birth trying to fit in. It's just factual, man. It's just factual. So the bottom line is, unless you can embrace the idea, non-autistic people, across the planet, that autistic people are different, and here's how they're different, and acknowledge and educate yourself, and find ways to embrace that, accept that, appreciate that, right? We're never getting to thriving. So don't say this is a day where autistic people can tell us how they can thrive. If you want to know how we can thrive, it's you. You, the community, the broader community. You. Without you, we've got no chance. We have no jobs. Why? No one will employ us. We can't get past the cover letter stage. Education is really hard. To get an education, to maintain an education. Again, because it's not set up for people who think differently. So then you don't get past the interview stage. But let's say your resume is okay and you get to the interview stage. You're not getting past that because you're autistic. And what happens? Again, we try our best to mask and fit in and say what we want to say, but our brain can't come up with neurotypical answers in an interview because it's not a neurotypical brain. So we fail the interview stage. God forbid we get to a second interview, never gets past that. But amazing if you get the job. Get the job. Either you disclose and ask for supports and potentially get pushed out, fired constructively, or you don't tell them and you get fired because you acted differently. So that's just employment. Relationships. No one wants to accept autistic people acting differently. So they just judge that and they push you away. No friends, no partners, no relationships, no ability to have support networks. Go to doctors. They don't care about learning new stuff. Oh, you've got this, you've got that. Oh, you're a woman, you can't be autistic. You're a girl, what are you doing here? You can speak, you're not autistic. You don't have an intellectual disability, you can't be autistic. None of these things are true, by the way. That's the other thing. Mental health and healthcare. People say in 2024, there's an explosion in autism diagnosis. There's an epidemic. It's bigger than ever before. I'm here to tell you that's factually incorrect. So let's be very clear. You are born autistic, you die autistic. You cannot acquire autism later in life. Late diagnosed autistic people were born autistic. Okay, so let's look at it like this. Let's say 40 years ago, 100 people were diagnosed autistic. And 40 years later, today, let's say 1,000 people are diagnosed autistic. Okay. So what if I was to say to you that a portion of those 1,000 people diagnosed today should in fact statistically be reflected in the 100 40 years ago? Huh? Okay. So if you were born 40 years ago and late diagnosed today because one way or another you have been assessed or you have realized it by having a child, having a kid, right, or a family member, or just clearly learning through modern science and medicine what autism actually is, seen a healthcare practitioner, God forbid you got into one that knew what they're talking about after a 20-year wait and a $5,000 cost, and you got a diagnosis down in paper, right? Why is that the stats for today? Now, what they've gone is, oh, I'm sorry, my bad. I recognize you're an autistic person. When were you born again? 40 years ago. Okay, so, hey mate, can you get the 40 years ago, can you make it 101? Yeah, I just found another one. Oh yeah, I found it. You're not going to believe this. I found another autistic person. When were they born? 40 years ago. Okay, do you mind calling up 40 years ago and saying, actually, it's 102 now? Next thing you know, there's 1,000 people diagnosed 40 years ago, right? Because they were recognized today. They didn't get it today, right? There is not this, what would you call it? Unrealistic or disproportionate increase. There isn't, guys. The fact of the matter is, when they were born 40 years ago, the medical profession had bloody no idea about autism. Number one, you had to be a boy, a white boy, didn't speak, intellectual difficulties, all these, right? And that actually is an autism. Intellectual disability is not autism. It can be a co-occurring condition, but it's not autism. Non-verbal, non-speaking can be part of a manifestation of autism, but so can average intelligence, so can above average intelligence, right? So can ranting and speaking like a professor, so can sensory sensitivities, issues with relationships, right? Repetitive restrictive behaviors that don't have to be what you might think 40 years ago is pushing rocks or making grunts, right? Which, by the way, is bloody awesome, right? It can be advanced. My special interest is I'm going to get internet satellites, put them into the lower orbit of Earth, literally blanket the Earth in my internet satellites. And then everyone on the planet can have fast internet, regardless of where they are. I'm going to build a rocket ship that can come back to Earth and use it again. That's a special interest. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So the point is, it's enough of the, and that's, I'm saying it because that's the other question I always get on these months. Whoa, there's an explosion. There's not an explosion, guys. There's not an explosion. It's just not the case. Late diagnosed autistic people statistically their number should be attributed to the year they were born, because that's when they were born autistic. It's just taken you 40 years to actually recognize it because you had no medical knowledge that was remotely appropriate. Now, that might not be your fault. Science evolves, right? Let me ask you this. Are people either blind or not blind? No. There's different degrees of vision impairment. Are people either deaf or not deaf? No. There's different degrees, right? Hearing impairment is different degrees. Do you see what I'm saying? So 40 years ago, are people either autistic or not autistic? Based on white boy, intellectual disability, doesn't talk? No, that's not the case. You don't have to be one or the other to make it the thing. We know that. So let me ask you this. Couldn't you make the same argument for everything else? Let's go through all the disabilities. Levels of vision, levels of hearing, levels of intelligence, levels of able-bodiment, if that's a word. Are there levels on those? There are. Okay, cool. So doesn't that mean that, you're just diagnosing more people every day with those? No, it's because where was that? See what I'm saying? It's an argument I hate. I bloody hate it. It's so stupid. Some dude just didn't walk past Everest. Go, holy bloody hell. Look what I found. I found a bloody mountain. Hey, Roger, I found a bloody mountain. Look at the size of it. It doesn't even end. It goes to the heavens. Where was that yesterday? Well, couldn't have been here because I just found it. I just saw it today. It was there yesterday, guys. Some dude just happened to walk past it and find it. It didn't just explode that day out of the earth. Do you see what I'm saying? It was always there. It just had to be recognised. Bloody hell, that's big. Disproportionate to other mountains in the world, I'll tell you what. That bloody mountain is disproportionately big to the rest of the mountains on this earth. Disproportionately bloody big. In fact, it's too bloody big. It's had enough. If it gets any funding, cut it. Oh, that's classic. Yeah, anyway. How good's that? Absolute tripe. You reckon we're done? I reckon we're done. I reckon that's better going to do it for me. Anyway, guys, we are autistic people. The world is telling us we aren't even surviving. This is what the world is telling us. And here's how we're going to fix it. You guys can work it out. You autistic people. We'll get a strategy for you. We'll work it out. Nothing's going to change unless the world changes. It's as simple as that. I mean, honestly. It's gonna offend a few people.